All right, Carl. So let's talk a little bit about productivity because that's a big one. I think that's a big one with any industry. So how do you? So two questions. Number one, how do you get your people to be more productive? And number two, how do you get yourself to become more productive?
Great. First thing to being the biggest tip I have about being productive is to stop talking about other people. Yeah, it's amazing how much human time is spent talking about other people. Hours a day. If you're on a beach, even on a vacation, you're hearing somebody next to you on a blanket next to you talking about their boss 2,000 miles away at work. People talking about people, and it's not productive. Change happens through contribution, not through comments and criticisms. It's meaningless. It is just absolute meaninglessness. So you can probably get back multiple hours a day, just stop talking about other people. And the other thing, so that's number one. Number two is, what do you think of that one?
That's a good one, yeah.
Does that one connect for you?
Yeah.
So
what that would mean in our industry is, so one of my mentors, he says part of the reason why he refuses to have an office, which, I mean, being an agent these days and having an office, I kind of don't really see the point. And he specifically did not want to have an office because he said out of the 20 agents that he had, there would be only one person in there and two max. And most of the time they were talking smack about the top producer in the office. So it's like, here you are, you could be going after your business, right? You could be going after, getting business. And what you're talking about is, John so-and-so, oh, that guy, he thinks he's, hot stuff and blah, 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 and all these things. So I get it, yeah.
I look at it like, and I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not a perfect human, right? I'm not even trying to act like I'm perfect. I'm just saying that's a huge time bandit. Spending time either actually talking about others in a negative way or thinking about others in a negative way. It's a huge time bandit.
Yeah, I was going to say, more than anything, it kind of clutters your judgment too. I mean, you're like constantly comparing yourself to somebody.
Torpedoes your focus.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the agents that I'm actually mentoring right now, that's kind of the conversation that I had with him, is he's more focused, on the transaction side. And the question that I had was, I was like, what did your 2019 look like, man? Oh, well, I had X amount of transactions. Well, how is that compared to 2018? Oh, I didn't really do well in 2018. Yeah. So you should be really focusing on yourself. Like, you look at what you did in 2019 to actually move the needle. And what can you do better in 2020 to actually surpass 2019?
Right.
And like you said, it's so important that you occupy, you take up all the space up in your head with what so-and-so has been doing, why that person is, the top producing person in the office or in your agency or whatever, and you're not focusing on what you could be doing to actually get to where they are,
Yeah.
Not only that, but one more thing, and you chime in here at any time if there's something to contribute. But people almost never really kind of, like I said, they're always focusing on other people's achievements rather than their own. They forget about their own. Mm-hmm. And that kind of like demoralizes people. But do you find that?
Oh man, let me say something about that. I call that the what's the best way to say that? It goes like this. Mm-hmm. I'll just say it like this. You have a goal, mm-hmm. and it's the ever moving goal. Because once you achieve it, you don't give yourself any credit for it, and you're already focused beyond it to the next one.
Interesting.
So you never take time to, acknowledge yourself, celebrate your life, celebrate with others, because this all goes back to transactional external thinking.
Okay.
You're always driven to compare and make the next and engineer living by a spreadsheet. You're always led to look at the next thing, not what you did or what you just accomplished. So it's kind of like a tread. It's like a myth, really. The myth of accomplishing your goal.
Yeah.
because as soon as you accomplish it, you want the next thing. So and it's automatic. It didn't happen that way originally, but it eventually became automatic. You become habituated to what you did accomplish no longer is worthy of your
time and
acknowledging
energy.
it.
Yeah.
Acknowledging it. So you made $10,000 in a week,
Yeah.
or let's say $10,000 a month. Let's start small. $10,000 in a month. Yeah, that's great. I really want to make $10,000 in a week. Okay, you do that. Okay, that's great. I really want to make $10,000 a day. It always moves. It's always a moving
it's a
target.
mountain with no top. You just
It never
kinda-
ends.
Yeah.
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 Now, I gave a presentation to a college recently, and entrepreneurial students at a college, and one of the things I asked them to talk about and write down was their goals. What do you think their goals were?
Graduating.
That would be a
Getting the
great
A.
goal, wouldn't it?
It's not.
These people, almost 80% of them. I mean, it was enormous how many of them wanted to be a billionaire.
Really.
That's all they would talk about is being a billionaire. Didn't see how to get to it. Didn't know. So, what's going to happen to them if they start making $10,000 a month? Well, it's not going to measure
It's not
up.
a thing. Yeah.
It's never going to measure up. So you never, so they're already in a setup for disappointment. You got, this goes back to the second point for productivity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second point for productivity is no one ever told you this when we were growing up. You got to learn to master your emotions.
I agree. Yeah.
You got to learn to master your emotions, and negativity is the default, as you say. It's kick you when you're down, doubt you when you're up. It's horrible. It's a crappy place, and so managing your emotions. People say, well, how do you do that? Well, first of all, be aware of it, and typically you're going to have the same pattern thinking in your. It's the same pattern that happens again and again. You can kind of feel it coming. But what you want to start doing is replacing negativity with positivity.
Interesting.
And it's a shift again, and it's part of that appreciating who you are, what your being is, and who you are, and not living your life just by external checkpoints to validate your importance. That's the whole do, have, be, right? You got to do something to have something to be something.
Mm-hmm.
You want to validate internal checkpoints. Those are huge. I didn't talk about anybody in a day. Imagine that. That is a huge success if you didn't sit there and criticize somebody in one day. Just like me with honking my horn.
Right. So it's okay. Great. So now you're kind of segueing to my next one.
Okay.
So it's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about doing small things throughout the day. So we got a program that's called the Daily Routine.
Mm-hmm.
So according to you, what could people do on their on a daily basis that would actually get them to be more productive?
Yeah. So I have this book. Master Your Monday, Win the Week. You could even make that smaller to master your morning, and you could even make that smaller to master your minute. Your first minute of the morning. And you talk about this, like if you're one of those people that stays in bed and sort of clocks through all the dread of your day, you got to stop that. And then people do that, especially on Monday morning or Sunday night. Not bed, but Monday morning, getting out of bed. So what's that first minute that you can do? I do mantras. I do writings every morning, 50 writings every morning. And, I know what I'm doing the first minute of every day. Don't let your morning have drift time, because you're going to drift back to the default that will never help.
So no social media first thing in the morning.
That's I don't see that as super productive right away.
So you're absolutely right. In fact,
people read books.
Yeah.
People take walks.
So we interviewed one of our agents actually that he's actually on our team now with our company, but he wasn't at that time. He said that he is part of something called the 4 a.m. club. And this guy would wake up at 4 o'clock. He still does. He's on my social media, and he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. In fact, remember when we had those freezing days here in Houston? I saw him. He was actually, yeah, he was swimming.
Okay.
I was like, nope, I can't. Yeah, I can be the 4 a.m. guy, but you won't catch me swimming. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because people don't realize how kickstarting your day will impact the whole day.
Yeah.
In fact, what I teach my agents is your day actually starts the night before. So what we teach is the night before, instead of social media and stuff like that, because people don't realize when you go to bed, like your subconscious takes over. That's why they say don't fight with your wife at night, right? Don't go to
It'll cook all night in your,
yeah,
in your subconscious.
don't what is it? What's the saying? Don't go to bed angry, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's the same principle. If you are ending your night by looking at your social media and looking at someone else's Instagram, and they're like, oh my gosh, they have the perfect life and all that stuff. Well, you wake up in the morning with this, like you said, the dreadful feeling of, I'm not making enough, I'm not doing enough, and all these things. So what I tell my agents is, start the day the night before. Review your goals. Write what you're gonna do the next day. And then, so when you wake up in the morning, one ritual that I have aside of doing these things is I actually look at my vision board. Because I'm like, man, where do I want to be? So that's how I start my day. Like you said, but I think you touched on one more thing. If I can finish this, how you start that first minute, man, it is like, it's so imperative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll feel, now I want to say this, it's not just think about the to-dos of the day, it's think about things that you already are, that you've already made progress on internally. This is what gratitude is about, right? Gratitude is what you're thankful for, what you've accomplished in your life already. People just, the Dalai Lama, he says something to the effect of people lose their life to money. People spend their life on earning money, and then they spend all their money getting back their life.
Oh wow!
They live as if they all will never die, and therefore they never live.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I chopped all that up.
Yeah.
I was composing it, but I didn't have it memorized. But that's basically it. People spend their whole life looking for the money thing, and then spend all their money looking for the health thing again.
Yeah, I think it is.
What do you get it?
Yeah, I think I have it. We work as we're not alive, and we live as we never something. It's on the tip of my tongue, man. It's we died as we never lived. I know that part.
Yeah.
We died as we never lived.
So
this is what it is. We live as we will never die, and then we die as if we never lived.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So, look at the things you already are, and like people here's another productivity thing. The third one. I've heard it said, people either have too much past in their head or too much future in their head. Right?
Oh, that's a good one.
And like Eckhart Tolle, right? His book, The Power of Now, that's what you want to start tapping into. Right now, we are outstanding. We are excellent. We have our health. We're breathing. We're talking about a subject that has meaning to us. It has purpose, meaning, and mission and power to us. The now is the most important thing you have in your life. Because, the past is the past. You can't do a whole lot.
Can't do much about it, yeah.
Rework on that. Except to go forward, but and then the future is not set. People act as if they're going to have a forever future, but man, I had 6 close people to me die last year.
Oh wow!
Last year,
my condolences.
6, and the youngest was 45.
Wow.
Okay, really, it was my cousin, and. He went in the hospital and he had an embolism travel to his lung while he was there, and he was done.
Oh my God!
In one day.
Was he suffering from anything?
Yeah, he had pains in his leg and he didn't know why.
Oh my goodness!
And he'd been treating it with Tylenol, trying to trying to quiet the pain. And when he got to the hospital, it was so severe and so bad. And then that blood clot traveled to his lungs, and he died that day.
Oh my God.
45. So, tomorrow's not guaranteed. The past is history. The most powerful time you have right now, and this is the third thing, is like focus on your now, right now.
It's so important you say that, because it's like the power of the present is very, very important, like you said, because if you're focusing on the past and you're bringing your past, what is that saying? Your past is actually your future. Like, that's a future to live up to if you don't let go of your past.
I have a quote for that.
Yeah.
Without vision, your past predicts the future.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I also have a friend of mine. He's actually he's really into history, so we talk history with him. He said history is never the past; it's actually the future. so it's really easy to live up to that. But I also want to say one important thing is how people can actually make a decision in the present that impacts everything. It's like you make a decision in the present, like right now. Now I will do it, that you do it right now.
Yeah.
And you can make a life-altering decision, like right in the second, right there in the present.
Great. Let me connect with that. I have a distinction between decision and choice.
Okay.
So a decision says you measure all the variables and you weigh it out, you weigh the pros and cons, and you look at it and you decide. It's factual-based analytical thinking, pros and cons. Mm-hmm. You're building the case for making that decision. Choice is, I'm doing it.
Okay.
I didn't explain why. I just said, I'm doing it.
You have the choice of doing it.
That's it.
You
don't measure it against anything, work it through your filter system, put it on a spreadsheet and plan it out. Nope. I'm choosing to do it. I did that over 15 years ago. Well, I've done it several times, but one I'll talk about is one I wanted to make an example of is over 15 years ago, I decided I'm not drinking anymore. No more alcohol. That was it. And that was it. Like, it gets quiet in here because I'm not telling you like why or how or what was the motivation. It was done. It was my time that it wasn't part of me anymore. And I chose, that's done. The choice, different than decision.
So you just cut cold turkey.
Yeah.
Now, were you a big drinker before?
Well, I started seeing myself in a pattern of Thursday, Friday, Saturday drinking. Now I wasn't a big drunk or a big drinker. I have 3 beers and that would be enough for me. But it was enough. It just wasn't part of me. It didn't define me anymore. It had no part of my life anymore. And that was that. Choice.
Interesting.
Now, the reason I bring that up is because people don't claim or own their power of choice.
Yeah, people feel like they don't have a choice.
That's right. They feel like, I've got to have this job. I've got to have this health insurance. These are decisions. That's not choice. I've got to, buy this Christmas present. I've got to do this person wants me to do. I can't say no. I don't have a choice. I got to do it. Man, you'll find that if you really want to make the choice instead of weighing it out and figuring it all out, you really can make the choice. People become vegetarian. People drop out of law school. People are lawyers that become yoga instructors. They choose. It's your life to choose. It's your life to choose. It may not make sense, but that's the decision in analytical thinking. But if you want to make a choice, you can. You own making a choice for your life.
That's actually very powerful. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So every single minute, you're making a choice. You choose to be in this business. You choose not to be in the business.
It's the trump card you carry in your pocket that rarely gets played, because everything gets played through the decision process.
Yeah, but do you think that people are responsible for their choices?
Yeah. Give me an example so I can connect better on that.
Like sometimes, we're talking about productivity, right? Like you have the choice of
checking your phone?
I don't know. Yeah, checking your phone or I don't know. You tell me.
Well, that's a good one. Let's pick on that one a little bit. I actually sit my phone in another room often just so I can focus. Now, I got to say, like the power of the phone is a big power. You know, we check it, we check it, we check it. You know, we're on it, we're on it, we're on it. There's something in our brain that craves it, just like, I guess, like cocaine or something like that. You know, it becomes an addiction.
You know, statistically, we spend about, I think it's like 6 or 7 hours a day checking
Yeah.
our phones.
Yeah. So if you want to focus, this is, I guess, fourth productivity tip is put your phone in another room. Don't try just sitting it down and turning it over. You won't resist it. It's tough. Make the choice to just put it in another place.
You know, it's interesting because I think this is leading to our next topic here, which is like habitual stuff, right? You know, we mentioned about the choices that we have and the routines that we do or whatever throughout the day, but I happen to think that what makes a great or a productive person versus an unproductive person is really the habits that they have. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, one of your habits, which is leaving your phone in the other room.
Yeah. If I'm writing. Now, if I'm working on my phone, that's another thing. But if I'm writing or doing something that doesn't need the phone, no phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I am. There's a course that I teach, which is called calendar blocking, and I start the course by saying the first thing you need to do, is not have your phone with you, because if you're there like blocking your week or your month or whatever, your phone is just going to distract you, you know. And that's something I always teach. Is like, man, just keep your phone away. Don't even have it in the same room. But that also leads into creating an environment that calls for the type of habit. Does that make any sense? What I'm saying?
It's like an alcoholic doesn't want to go to the bar.
Yeah. It changed your routine. Don't drive by bars.
Exactly.
Yeah. For example, there was a study done. I read about the study that I think was it a hospital or something, where they reduced the number of sodas that people drink is simply by arranging where water was in relation to their soda. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah. So it's really important to meet your goals. You gotta rearrange your environment. You know, if you're conditioned.
Some of the friends you've been around that just that's a big one. Oh, go ahead. You were completing.
No.
Can I jump in with this point?
Jump in. Yeah.
You know, when you're going through any change in your life, your friends can be helpful, and a lot of times they are not helpful because they just see you as the same person that you've been. They don't understand the new definition that you're creating in your life, the redesign you're giving your life. You know, they still see, if you're an alcoholic, for instance, they still see you as the drinker, or if you're a smoker, they still see you as the smoker, or if you're the complainer, you know, they still see you as a complainer. And so the truth is, you want to get out and this is another big tip. I don't know if it aligns for productivity, but the truth is, strangers often trust and value you more than friends do, or family.
Interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, if you've got a big idea, what are your family or friends going to say about it?
It's terrible. Don't do it. You're going to fail. Speaking from experience here.
You know, you don't know what. I don't understand why you're changing, why you're going to that. What is it? Why are you doing that? You know, you've got something reliable over here, or you know. Why?
You got a great job in the oil and gas industry. Why do you want to be a realtor?
There you go. I mean, all that, you know. So
you got a pension plan.
Your retirement, your 401k, your health insurance.
Yeah.
You know, those things like that they'll just kind of anchor you, and therefore that sort of transformation to a new place, you know, kind of they become the anchor that kind of pulls you. And if they're not actually if they're not actually directly the anchor, your opinion of what they might be thinking is the anchor.
You know what? That's actually a big one for me, because I come from. Have you read the book Poor Dad, Rich Dad?
Yes.
Well, he might as well wrote that book for me,
Okay.
because my dad is a PhD, and part of the conflict that I had with my parents growing up is they were always kind of committed to comfort, if that makes any sense. Like, I come from a culture where education is a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like kind of like the Asian culture or the Japanese culture. It's like that's what you do. You go to school, you get your degree, you get you get the highest level of education possible, so you can find you a good job, a nice cushy job,
Right.
that pays you a retirement or whatever, and by the end of your life, you hope that your Social Security is enough and your 401k contribution is enough to sustain you.
Right.
And I made peace with my friends and family for always, because I recognize that they did not want me to go out there and get hurt, because becoming an entrepreneur, it's a big step. Going on your own is a huge step.
Yeah.
And those around you, they want to protect you. But getting back to the rich dad poor dad mentality, we are a society that that conditions you for that. We are a society, like our schooling system. for
Absolutely.
example.
It's institutional structure.
Right.
And it started with your parents' parents. Everybody go to school, get a good job, get a better job, get a good house, get a better house, and so forth and so on. And back, I think it came during the wartime, especially strong. I've looked back in the history of this a little bit, back when everybody needed to be trained so that they could produce.
Factory workers
So they could produce
Right.
at factories and manufacturing.
I've heard that before.
Plants and stuff.
Interesting.
So, and now school is dangerous. Now here's why. I've got 3 degrees. I know you have several. You have 3, right?
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. If you...
So school is dangerous. Here's why. Let's talk about this. This is a very relevant
Okay.
topic. And you've got people coming into the real estate who probably have a lot of education.
Yeah.
right?
They do. Yeah.
So this
yeah.
is relevant. So here's the thing with school. In school, you learn everything before you're tested. In the real world, you're tested first and then you learn.
Gotcha.
It's backwards, right? So you go into your test in school with the answer. You go into the world, you don't have the answer. You got to go stumble and it's like a dark room. You got to go bump into things until you know where the furniture is, right? It's all dark until you start figuring out where things lay out. So that's number one. School teaches you to have the answers first before you're tested. Life is not that way. So people that come out of school or even out of long jobs where they've sort of been cared for 10, 15, 20 years, their whole life has been organized by their job, they lose their self-sufficiency. You can't hunt anymore because the plate's been given to you at every meal. In school, you've got the answers before the test. On your job, you've been trained on the job or before the job, and you've had a routine in your life. You lose your self-sufficiency, and it's a wake-up call when you lose your job. People really, get the shock of their lives when they get laid off. And
Yeah, you really feel worthless. Yeah.
you feel worthless. You feel overwhelmed with fear. You feel stuck. You feel rejected. And the truth is, that's just, honestly, that probably happens to just about everybody. So it's not an individual thing. It's more like that's just life. But but it's a great opportunity to really fixate on things as what you did wrong and, why I'm so horrible. And, it usually point either inward, I did something wrong, I'm the bad person, or you point outward, they did something wrong, they're the bad person. But either way, it's not productive. It's just life.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because the meaning that we assign to things is also really important. Like
That's the manage your emotions part of number 3.
Oh, nice. Okay, talk about that a little bit.
Well, I said earlier, you got, or maybe that was number 2. I said, one of the things you're never told in your life is you got to learn to manage your emotions. Your emotions are yours, but probably were influenced by other people, but still, your life is your responsibility. So, you got to learn to manage your emotions.